Okay, page 1, applying the Pythagorean theorem. The goal when using the Pythagorean theorem is to find the side lengths in a right triangle. So you're trying to find all three sides and how long they are. In a right triangle, the square, which means when you square something, of the length of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs. Now, that in a sentence is just this. A leg squared plus another leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Now, they write it c squared equals a squared plus b squared. I prefer to write it how it's written here. One of the a's is a squared. Let me make that a little smaller. And then another leg is your b squared. And then it equals the hypotenuse squared, which we call c squared. Now, in a right triangle, the legs form the right angle. See how the side labeled A and the side labeled B form the right angle? Those are the legs. The side across from the right angle is known as the hypotenuse, and you always label it C. It's also always the longest side of the triangle. Okay, the hypotenuse, it's the longest side of the triangle, and it sits across from the right angle every time. The legs form the right angle. Okay, so let's do an example. We're going to find the length of the hypotenuse. Now, one of the legs is 7, the other leg is 24, because see how those are the two sides that form the right angle? And then see the side across from the right angle is labeled x. So if we're using the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, a could be either 7 or 24. It does not matter. Okay, it's just one of the legs. It doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to use 7. B would be the other leg, which would be 24. And then C would be the hypotenuse, which they're calling x. Now you just start simplifying. What is 7 squared? 49. What is 24 squared? Right? And then x squared, you can't do anything with because x squared is just x squared, right? Now on the left side, these are both constant values, so can't you go ahead and add these together? What's 49 plus 576? Right? And then on the right side, you still just have that x squared. Now, our whole goal is to know what x equals. We want to know what the side length of the hypotenuse is. So we need to get x by itself. How do we get x by itself? Right, to cancel out the squared, you square root it. Everybody needs to pay attention. There's some people who are not paying attention. And then x equals the square root of 625, which is what? 25. And isn't 25 a larger number than 24 and 7? It'll always be the largest of the three. Okay, the hypotenuse is the longest. Now, I want you to attempt the one below it by yourself. Number 1, find the length of the hypotenuse of the right triangle. Okay, so they tell you that the hypotenuse is the one that you're trying to find, so obviously this is the hypotenuse. These are the legs because they are the ones that form this right angle. Now, it doesn't matter what you call them. This could be A or that could be A, but whichever one you call A, the other one's B. So if you go with A is 9, that would be 9 squared plus 12 squared equals x squared. Now that becomes an 81. This becomes a 144. And now you just add those together. What is 81 plus 144? And now to solve for x, what do you do last? Square root it. And so the square root of 225 is? So that one's 15. And we know that even though you can't know for sure that you're exactly right about the number, you at least have a good idea that you're right, because isn't that the largest of the three numbers? And the hypotenuse has to be the largest. Okay, go to page 2. Okay, on these examples, this time you are finding the length of a leg. Okay, in the previous two you were finding the length of the hypotenuse, but in these two you're finding the length of the leg. Yes. Okay, so we have a right triangle formed by propping a ladder against a wall. Okay, so what is the hypotenuse? Is it the wall or the ladder? The ladder. Okay, because think about it. Wouldn't the wall and the ground form the right angle? Wouldn't a building with the ground form a right angle? A 90-degree angle? And so across from that would be the ladder propped up, which is the hypotenuse. So that is your C. Now, we only have one of the legs, so I'll call it A. Doesn't that mean B is unknown? So it would be A squared, which would be 5 squared, plus B squared, which will remain B squared because we don't know the B, that's what we're trying to figure out, equals C squared, which would be 13 squared. Now you simplify by squaring the 5 and getting 25. Now to solve for the B, well, before that, the 13 squared becomes, right, and now what do I need to do to solve for B? Minus 25, and so B squared equals 144, and now when you solve for B, you have to cancel out that squared by square rooting, giving you B equals 12. You already had 5 though. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, try this one now. Right, and like some of you already noticed, 12, 13, 5, 12, 13, so that one had to be 5. Okay, now turn to page 5. And you are going to work 1 through 8 by yourself on page 5. For number 1, okay, Marcus. Right, 3 miles, because these actually gave us units. Number 2, who wants to tell me what they got? 8. Okay, 8 miles. Okay, raise your hand so it's somebody different every time. Number 3, who wants to tell me? Okay, Jasmine. Right, 5 centimeters. Okay, raise your hand for number 4. Anybody? Okay. Right, 15 meters. Okay, number 5, Abby. Right. Okay, number 6, okay. 9 kilometers, right. Number 7. Why do we already have one with 10 and 6? Oh yeah, it was 8 meters. And then number 8 was what? 12 inches. Okay, now turn to the next page. And this will be the last page we do today. Well, I'm going to do 2 with you, and then you'll do 6 by yourselves. This is stating whether or not it is a right triangle. So to do so, you still have to use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I know, but not always. Yes, it could be like 85 degrees. You know what I mean? All right, so let's look at number 9. What number out of those 3 could you possibly plug in for the A? Okay, 4. So if you plug in 4 for A and square it, what would you have to plug in for B? Right, because those are your 2 legs. Those are the 2 things that appear to form the right angle. Also, you can see that 5 is the biggest number, so it's the hypotenuse. So it would go at the end. Now, what is 4 squared? What is 3 squared? What is 5 squared? What does 16 plus 9 equal? So doesn't that make a true statement? 25 equals 25. So this one is, yes, it is a right triangle. Now let's look at number 11. It appears like it possibly could be because look, that would be the hypotenuse. Look, this would be the hypotenuse because it's the biggest one. It's the longest side. And doesn't that look like it could possibly be a right angle over there across from it? Okay, but possibly. So let's just check it. What are your legs? So 7 squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. What is 7 squared? What is 8 squared? And what is 10 squared? What is 49 plus 64? And then those numbers are not equal, right? So this is no, it's not a right triangle. So now you're going to do the other 6 on this page. 10. What did y'all get, yes or no? Yes. 12 squared plus 9 squared does equal 15 squared, because it'd be 144 plus 81, which does add up to 225. Okay, what about number 12, yes or no? No. 12 squared plus 10 squared does not equal 13 squared. It would be larger. Like these two would add up larger than that. All right, number 13, yes or no? No. 9 squared plus 9 squared does not equal 15 squared. Number 14? No. Number 15? Yes, because 25 plus 144 is 169. And isn't that what 13 squared is? Pay attention. And then number 16? No. Okay, we are done.